Hi, I'm Vic and I'm a physiotherapist at the Great North Children's Hospital.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a clinical psychologist at Great North Children's Hospital. Today we're going to be talking about fatigue. We've got some of the key questions people often ask us about fatigue and we'll be doing our best to answer them. So my first question here is, for you Vic, what is fatigue and how is it different from feeling tired?
When we think about fatigue, it's really important to think about energy. Everybody always thinks about the physical use of energy, so using energy for things like going for a walk or playing sports. But what it's important to remember is there are lots of things that use energy. So we use energy when we go to school and we sit in a lesson. We use energy if we're out socialising with our friends or at a party. We can also use energy when we have lots of strong emotions. So say if you go and have an argument with somebody. You can think about your energy levels a little bit like a phone battery. So for somebody without fatigue, they might start their day with a fully charged battery. They'll go through their day doing all the things that they need to do, and they'll use up energy as they go. When they go to sleep at night, they recharge their battery and then they'll wake up the next day back to 100% again. If they have a really, really busy day, they might get to the end of the day on quite a low charge and they might feel a bit tired, and that's completely normal. But they'll wake up feeling pretty much the way that they normally do the next day. For somebody who experiences fatigue, they might find that when they go to sleep at night, they don't recharge their battery back to full. They might have a really, really good night's sleep, but that sleep isn't refreshing, and when they wake up the next morning, they can wake up feeling just as bad as they did before they went to sleep. So Heather, can you tell me what some of the reasons might be why somebody might have fatigue?
So people can develop fatigue for a range of different reasons. Firstly, health conditions such as heart problems, thyroid difficulties, chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes are associated with fatigue. Secondly, after a viral illness such as COVID or flu, people sometimes develop fatigue after that. Certain treatments such as chemotherapy cause fatigue, and also emotional issues such as stress or anxiety can also be associated with fatigue. So Vic, can you tell us what are some of the consequences of fatigue?
Fatigue can get in the way of doing lots of things that you'd normally like to do, like going to school, seeing your friends, playing sports, and doing other hobbies. People who are fatigued can also feel quite worried about why they're feeling so fatigued, and this can be really, really difficult as well. You can end up feeling quite fed up and quite down because you can't do the things that you'd like to do. There is also some other symptoms that become associated with fatigue. So people who are fatigued might get things like headaches, they might feel nauseous, and they might get joint aches and pains. The other thing that sometimes people with fatigue can get is something called brain fog, and that's when your thinking feels a bit slower, you might struggle to remember things, and that can really impact people's learning and at school. Heather, if you've got fatigue, what are some of the things that people can do to help?
If you're experiencing fatigue, then it's a good idea to go and talk to your GP or your doctor at the hospital if you have one. They may want to do some tests to try and work out what might be causing the fatigue. On this website, we have a page that's specifically dedicated to fatigue, and it has some really useful resources on it, which is worth having a look at. There's also a video about sleep, which you may be interested to take a look. It's also a really good idea to talk to school. There might be some different things that they can put in place to help and support you with making sure that you keep up with your schoolwork as well as seeing friends. It's also worth getting in touch with school and talking to them. There might be some things that they can put in place to help you and support you with your fatigue. This is really important in terms of keeping up with your schoolwork as well as having time to see friends and socialise. Vic, some people may have heard about fatigue management. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
So it is important to remember that being fatigued isn't the same as being tired. Everybody gets tired if they have a particularly busy day, and usually if they then go to sleep, they wake up the next morning and they feel pretty much all right again. For somebody with fatigue, this isn't the case. Think again about our phone battery. If somebody's got fatigue, what they might find is that their battery of energy maybe only charges up to, say, 30%. So when they go to sleep, they wake up in the morning with only 30% charge. When they go through the day doing all the things that they need to do, getting up, getting ready, getting the bus to school, going and sitting in school, they're using up energy and they're using up that battery. They might even use up that battery so that it goes flat, or they might sometimes use up that battery so that it goes flat and they have to use up energy from the next day's battery. Then when they go to sleep, they struggle to charge that up again. So they wake up again feeling just as fatigued, or maybe even more fatigued than they did the day before. With fatigue management, what we aim to do is look at all the activities that somebody needs to do across the day. We then aim to work out what the most important ones are and spread them out with periods of rest in between. What this means is that somebody can conserve their energy a little bit more and can get done the things that are really, really important to them in the day without flattening their battery completely. This might mean maybe in the short term that they have to reduce some of what they do. However, over time, as people start to feel a little bit better, sometimes they can then start to increase their activities slowly again. Heather, I've made this sound really easy, but I'm aware that it isn't always the case. Can fatigue management be hard?
So it all sounds quite straightforward when you explain it, Vic, but we know that in practice it can be much more difficult. Fatigue management often involves maybe holding yourself back a little bit from doing things that you'd quite like to do because you need to preserve your energy, and that can feel really, really frustrating at times. It's really important to talk to someone that you trust about how you're feeling whilst you're trying to manage your fatigue, and discuss any worries or concerns that you might have with that person. As we said earlier, there's lots of other resources about fatigue on this website, so I'd really encourage you to take a look and see what's available. We also have other videos around sleep and mood and various other things, so have a browse of the videos on this website and see what you find helpful. If you are worried about your fatigue, then please talk to a family member, and also you might want to think about going to see a GP or a doctor at the hospital if you have one, just to talk through your concerns and think about what might be helpful next steps for you. I hope that you find this video helpful.